He's a teacher who's been leading a shameful double life. Online, he pretended to be his teenage son in a bid to seduce schoolgirls. But this man is old enough to be their grandfather.
Can I ask you, are you a predator?
No.
He was grooming me on the internet and he did a lot of things that no man of 50 should be doing with young teenage girls.
Do you remember Susannah?
Yeah, I do. I've talked to her a few times.
He says he's innocent. She says he's a predator.
It really hurt. I don't think I've fully grasped the pain level from what happened.
She's the young girl you groomed and preyed upon on the internet, at
Well,
least
that's absolutely not true.
Well, she says that it is.
Well, that isn't true. I'm very surprised by this, and I've got no more to say. Thank you.
He may not want to talk now, but in lurid emails and text messages, this grandfather had plenty to say.
I undress you and look at you naked.
His tag is Earth Lover. Hers is Daisy Rose.
What are you wearing?
My school uniform.
There was sexual things that went on the internet with messaging and that kind of thing. That was quite explicit.
And at that time, you were 15.
I was 15, yes.
Isn't it true that you asked Susannah for naked photos of herself from the age of 15?
Absolutely not.
He then asked you for naked photos?
Yes, quite a few times over the course of our online relationship.
He would ask regularly?
Yes.
Susannah says they met in a chat room when she was 15. He told her his name was Richard Martin. And Susannah, how old did he say he was?
He told me that he was 17 years old.
And you believed him?
Yeah, I had no reason not to.
He doesn't have any boundaries. That's why I say he's a very serious offender.
Journalist Amanda Gearing is Susannah's friend.
It was all sexual gratification for him and no care whatever for the child, which is what abuse is.
And you have no doubts that he is a predator?
He was a particularly serious online predator.
I've seen the sexually charged MSN messages and emails you sent to her.
I'm sorry, I've got nothing more to say.
And Susannah says by the time she was 16, he was asking her to undress online while he watched. So he was asking you to go on webcam and take your clothes off?
Basically, yes.
Worse still, Susannah says Richard would threaten to block her if she didn't do what he wanted.
I didn't buy a light bulb, which he'd asked me to buy so I could go on the webcam with better lighting. And here he's sending me emails counting down, saying in 20 minutes I will delete you and you will not be able to contact me.
I have seen the strings of conversations, and part of that includes situations where he actually says to her, if you won't do things, for example, send me a naked photograph of yourself, then I will go and talk to someone else.
How many other girls have you done this to? Is Susannah the only one?
I'm sorry, you can't come in here.
Well, Susannah's very concerned that you may do it to other girls.
You know, people like Susannah are captured and groomed and tricked by these types of people every day.
Hetty Johnston set up Bravehearts, an organisation dedicated to saving children from predators, and Hetty is convinced this teacher is one of them.
I have no doubt at all that he's a predator, just in the way that the whole thing has unfolded, and also, of course, what Susannah herself has told us.
By now, you're probably wondering why Susannah believed the man behind the keyboard was a 17-year-old boy. Well, part of the reason is because he sent her photos of himself, including one in which he's naked. And it's only been recently that Susannah found out who the person in these photos really is.
He'd been sending me photos of his own son all along.
And isn't it true you used your own son as bait to attract Susannah online?
The son is clearly a victim as well. I mean, his image has been used to manipulate and to harm young people, and particularly Susannah in this case.
It turned out he'd photoshopped his son's face onto a naked body.
Which seems very creepy in the extreme.
It does. Looking back now, it is just so creepy.
She was 15 when this started. 15. And you used your own son's photo as bait. What sort of father does that? Susannah says the online relationship went on for 3 years until she was 18. In another cruel twist, she says her online boyfriend asked her to marry him, even though he's already married. That's his wife walking with him in the park.
The first guy I ever fell in love with and had a 3-year relationship with was 50 years old, and you can't get back your first true love.
Last year, Susannah saw the TV show Catfish, which connects people who've met on the internet and aren't who they say they are.
Oh my gosh.
You've had like an 8-month, pretty romantic relationship with Felipe as a female on the internet. So why? Why
It wasn't
that?
really romantic.
Yes, it was. You guys talked about being together. You talked about like a future together.
I didn't really know him, so it was like, I'm not trying to be mean, but I didn't have no feelings. It was just like whatever.
Do you use the Jasmine profile to meet guys?
No.
I came across a site called Social Catfish, and they promised for a small fee to find anyone with the most basic of information. So I paid them some money, and within 48 hours they sent me an email saying they'd found his real identity.
This one was probably the craziest one I've ever seen.
David McClellan from socialcatfish.com says they used email addresses and photos to pinpoint Susannah's catfish.
So it looks like he was using like his son's profile or son's images to contact her and act like he was his son's age.
I was angry, I was upset, I was in denial even, thinking, what if I don't tell him I know?
But Susannah wants final proof, so she calls him and hears his unmistakable Scottish accent.
I don't want to call you Richard, because you're not Richard.
No, my name's so call me.
He confesses to everything.
Oh, God, help me. Well, you know, I'm married, you know, I've got children.
The nude photos.
Do you still have nude photos of me?
No, I didn't. I deleted them.
And the photos of his son.
You know how you use photos of...
Yeah.
He doesn't know you've used them, does he?
Oh, God, no, he doesn't.
Have you anything to say about this? In there he was denying that he'd got photos or asked other girls for photos. Do you believe him?
I honestly don't know what I believe anymore. I couldn't believe that he lied to me for 12 years, so the fact that he managed to makes me question anything he says is truth.
This man isn't just some shadowy figure on the internet. He's actually a lecturer, someone you'd expect would know better. Susannah says several times she asked to meet and he always refused. Research now suggests that 40% of internet predators choose not to meet their victims, but rather get their thrills by demanding naked photos and having sexually charged conversations online.
You don't actually have to meet that person to commit an offence.
Detective Adam Edwards from Task Force Argos says it's not unusual for victims to keep in touch with online predators for years. In Susannah's case, she says she kept in contact with her catfish on and off for more than a decade.
The offender is grooming that child to believe that they're very important and they want to maintain this relationship. And so it's very detrimental to that child.
Are you at all concerned for Susannah's well-being? She says she's still struggling to come to terms with this.
She will have been feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of shame over all these years, which is why she's not talked about it.
I know he was communicating with other teenagers. I know sometimes he'd threaten me that he'd leave me and get with one of them if I refused to do something he requested.
Susannah hopes anyone else who had similar dealings with him will now come forward. What would be your advice to young teenagers who are communicating with people on the internet?
If you feel that there's anything wrong, trust your gut. You're not betraying the other person to want information which tells you exactly who you're really talking to.
You lied to her for more than a decade about who you were and how old you were. This is inexcusable behaviour.
Susannah has given a statement to police and will be interviewed by a crime task force dealing with sexual predators.